Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the Online Series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a really cool team featuring Special Weakness Policy Zekrom as well as Physical Life Orb Regieleki. This team was built by a player called tsltang, and they are really one of my all-time favorite team builders in Sword and Shield. If you actually watched Road to Rank about a year ago or so, you may recognize Physical Regieleki and Special Zekrom because we use teams built by tsltang. They built two separate teams featuring those sets, and what I love about this team is basically combines, those signature Pokemon and throws them together onto a team. So huge thank you to tsltang for the team. You can check them out, linked in the description below, as well as a rental and a piece for the team if you want to try it out yourselves. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps linked in the description below. And thanks so much as always for watching. If you enjoy, please share support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. So, the general idea behind this team is that you're going to Dynamax Zekrom or Regieleki almost all the time, and the idea is to just overwhelm your opponent with offense. It is a rather hyper-offensive team, although interestingly enough, you do have Grimmsnarl to set up screens, and the main reason is because Zekrom can actually be pretty tanky when you're Dynamaxed, even though this is like a pretty fast-paced team. Grimmsnarl can allow Zekrom to survive for a lot longer, and then Comfey can also heal it back up with Floral Healing. So you're going to want to Dynamax Eleki or Zekrom pretty much all the time. With Eleki, what's really fun is, first of all, you have good coverage between Giga Impact, Wild Charge, and Bounce. Very few people, like I said, anticipate Physical Eleki. And so you can combo that with Kyogre, and what's really nice is just go for something like a Max Airstream into a Specs Water Spout immediately. I think when people see Eleki, they often expect just something like Electro Web or maybe Max Strike. But the Max Airstream is something like it's even harder to play around, and so you can catch opponents off guard with that. So Eleki plus Kyogre, really, really strong duo. Comfey plus Zekrom, also a really strong lead duo. Grimmsnarl and Incin are mainly used for support here, with Grimmsnarl, like I mentioned, setting up the screens, and then Scary Face is also really nice just to drop your opponent's speed to allow Zekrom or Kyogre to just outspeed something and potentially knock them out. The Incineroar on this team is also pretty interesting because it's actually max attack, max speed with the Focus Sash. And so this will allow the Incin to get out a little bit easier. What's really nice is comboing with something like the Eleki, you can just max Airstream into like a parting shot. And because of the speed investment you have with Incin, you actually will outspeed a lot of things after a speed boost that normally people would never expect, right? And so Focus Sash is nice as an item because this allows you to take one big attack, whether it be a Max Quake from Landorus or a Water Sprout from Kyogre, and then also get that parting shot off. It also means that you can lead Incin and often feel more confident going for a parting shot immediately because, you can take one big attack and then switch out. So, yeah, the general idea, as I've mentioned, is to either play around Eleki plus Kyogre or, Comfey Zekrom and then clean up the game with Kyogre in the end game, for example. The other thing to note with Comfey is just with Triage, you have +3 priority Draining Kiss, and so you don't actually even have to worry about Fake Out as much because Comfey outspeeds most of the common Fake Out users in Grimmsnarl, Incineroar, and the Rilalboom, and so that'll allow you to activate the policy on Zekrom before they can even deny you it, and then Zekrom at +2 is just an absolute beast, and like I said, people don't really anticipate Special Zekrom, so Intimidate isn't even valuable against this Pokemon. So yeah, overall I think it's really fun. Specs Kyogre is also just an absolute monster. Like the damage output this Pokemon has is just absolutely wild, and you can one-shot so many things with Water Spout, especially if they're not Dynamax, for example. And even if you resist Kyogre, like Water Spout into a Rillaboom switching in at full power still does, like a ton of damage. There's basically no switching into Kyogre other than something that's maybe immune to water via like Storm Drain, like Gastrodon, for example. Otherwise, this Pokemon is just an absolute beast, especially when you combine it with speed control from Regieleki. The last thing I'll note is that the Comfey here is Trick Room. You don't necessarily need to click Trick Room, but it's nice to potentially reverse opposing Trick Rooms. And the Zekrom, is not exactly the fastest Pokemon, so against like really fast-paced hyper offense like Whimsicott, Calyrex, Zacian teams, Trick Room can go a long way as well in helping you outspeed your opponent. So just one option to consider. It's not like you're going to use it very frequently, but it can come out in the right matchups. So yeah, that's it for the team. Let's get started with today's episode. I can't believe it. We're actually up against another Comfey team for the first match here. Did not expect to see that. Comfey Raichu, Zacian, Yveltal, Landorus, and Mienshao. I mean, Zekrom's interesting, right? Because we've got Terravolt, so I can ignore Raichu. Screens is valuable here. Focus Sash is like somewhat helpful. The max speed offense is interesting. But, like, how much do I want to use Physical Eleki is part of my question here. We've got Specs Kyogre as well. So, what's good here? I mean, all of our Pokemon are decent. I feel like I'm most intrigued by just playing towards Zekrom because it's Special Zekrom here. So my opponent will probably try to use like Landorus to stop it, just to be caught off guard. Yeah, I think that can work. Honestly, I'm kind of down for... if I'm not leading Grimmsnarl, it's kind of awkward. Like, I was going to say Grim plus Kyogre early, just because my opponent doesn't have any water resistances or immunities, and then Comfey Zekrom in the late game. If my opponent didn't have Landorus-T, I'd maybe think about the... Actually, I think one really viable mode I could have gone with was Zekrom plus Kyogre, because I can just like max Airstream in a Water Spout with that duo. So that could have been worth considering. Mienshao here can be a little bit scary because it does get access to Wide Guard, so that's something I want to watch out for. And they're going to go with Mienshao plus Raichu. Okay, very support-oriented. I mean, I would think you have Yveltal and Zacian in the back, so I'm okay with this. Like, the duel that my opponent has right now is not exerting any offensive pressure, right? They do have double Fake Out, which is amusing, though. Yeah. I guess I'll click Reflect here, because I'm worried about, like, physical Raichu one-shotting Kyogre. So, Reflect, and just Origin Pulse here. We'll see if Mienshao opts for, like, a Wide Guard. Okay, it's just going to Fake Out. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just double Fake Out here. They just go for Nuzzle. I mean, if I get this Origin Pulse off, like, it's so much damage to both Pokemon. Okay, we are going to miss on the Mienshao, which isn't ideal, but it's okay. Yeah, I mean, that was a really risky turn one on their side, honestly. Yeah, looks like AV Raichu to me. It's fine. Now, I could have clicked Water Spout there. That might have just been a little bit more consistent, to be honest, but I didn't want to take, like, a big electric type attack from the Raichu, right? So... close combat plus T-Bolt into Kyogre makes a lot of sense right now. I'm actually kind of down to switch into Comfey here. And actually just Spirit Break into Mienshao. Yeah, because I don't think you're going to KO Comfey, and Spirit Break will then put you at Focus Sash range, so then I can just go for Draining Kiss and then set up one screen next turn. Okay, they go for Wide Guard, that's also fine. Yeah, that's the other option I wanted to cover for. Works for me. They're just spamming Nuzzle. Okay, I mean, I'm okay with that. Like, the downside is I obviously now have to play around these Paras, but I really don't think it's that bad. I can Draining Kiss now for a KO onto the Raichu. Yeah, I don't mind trying to get both screens up right now. So I will go for Reflect here and Draining Kiss into Raichu. It's a little bit frustrating just because they actually have successfully gotten 2 Nuzzles off, and like the first 2 turns haven't been amazing. Like I missed an Origin Pulse, that would have brought Mienshao down to Sash, and then got Para there on the Spirit Break. That also probably would have brought Mienshao down to Sash. So that's the thing, right? Like, if I'm not knocking out the Raichu, I am allowing my opponent to induce that variance, but I don't really have a great way around it other than maybe having led the Zekrom immediately. So, they're just going to go into Zacian here. That makes sense. So at least we get Reflect up. I've got Babiri on this as well. And this next turn I can, for example, protect Comfey and sacrifice the Grimmsnarl to get Zekrom in for free. Because Zekrom... I get parried again. Okay. Coaching! That's really cool. Now, the good thing is I have Special Zekrom, so it's honestly not that scary, because I can just KO you with the Max Quake. And the other nice thing is I have Scary Face here, so I can drop your speed enough so that Zekrom can just come out and outspeed you. So, I'm down for Protect here. 2 full Paras in a row, not ideal on Grimmsnarl, though. So, I wasn't actually able to get Reflect up. Oh... Okay, at least they Behemoth Blade into Comfey. Oh, man. It's still okay, which is the wild thing about all of this, but now obviously it's looking a lot tougher. I will just go for Scary Face onto Zacian. Draining Kiss onto Mienshao. It's 3 full Paras in a row. 1 in 64 chance. Combine that with the Origin Pulse miss, and this game, for what should be a fairly good matchup, has been a disastrous start, honestly. Like, I think I have such a significant matchup advantage here, honestly. We do get a crit on Draining Kiss, but yeah, they should be sashed. Okay, more importantly though, Grimm does actually get the scary face off, so that's all I'm looking for, because now I can bring out Zekrom and max Quake that slot. Okay, they're going to CC into Grimm, that's fine. And I'm sure it's just Behemoth Blade into Comfey here. Now they're a +3 attack, which is obviously really scary. Okay. Now the good thing is that the Raichu in the back can't nuzzle me, so that's really appreciated. I just don't know if a max Quake one-shots the Zacian. I really hope so. I wasn't able to get my policy up successfully in this game. I could have switched Grimm out, but meh. Okay. So, yeah, this is the beauty of running Special Zekrom, and I'm hoping I can just catch my opponent off guard here with it. Let's bring it out. And I'm just going to go for Max Quake onto the Zacian slot and set up Reflect here. Reflect, Max, and Quake. The downside is I haven't got a single screens up with Grimmsnarl, because I got full pair of 3 turns in a row, which obviously is not ideal. So, yeah, this was a weird one, because my opponent had such a passive lead, but I didn't have a great way around the nuzzle stuff, given the lead. I could have switched in Zekrom, I suppose, at some point, but I think this is a game where, like, we just got, honestly, really unlucky, right? Like, 3 full pairs in a row, plus an Origin Pulse miss to start. The odds of that are obviously really slim, and so the majority of the time, we should honestly have, like, a very significant advantage. Okay, they're not going to switch out, they're not going to protect, so if Zekrom can one-shot Zacian with the Max Quake here, we are back into things. Yep, they're just going to close combat onto Grimm, that's fine. Because I assume their last one's Yveltal, so like I think Zekrom is poised to just potentially KO all of my opponent's Pokemon right now. And I'll get a special defense boost via Max Quake, so let's see. Ah, it's not enough for a KO though, okay. It's disappointing. Well, good to know that, Calc, at least. It's valuable. Yeah, they're just going to Blade me. That's still so much damage, though. I mean, they're at +3 attack. Reflect is up, but... You know what? Actually, Zekrom took that a lot better than I expected it to, so we'll take it. Bring out Kyogre now. Close combat won't KO us. I can maybe angle for a double knockout, but my problem now is they just have such an advantage because they have one more Pokemon in the back. And it's probably going to be that Yveltal. I don't mind locking into Ice Beam here. Ice Beam, and I'll just go for Lightning onto Zekrom, because that covers for an Yveltal switch in, and that's one way they could totally throw the game. They go for Wide Guard, so I'll actually pick up a double knockout here. Okay. That's sweet. More importantly, oh, this is huge, actually. I set up the Electric Terrain, meaning that I get a stronger Max Lightning off in the final turn. The problem is, because we're special, if you're Assault Vest Yveltal, I don't do as much damage as I would with physical Zekrom. I was also thinking about self-Ice Beaming just to activate my policy. But then I'm just like afraid of being in close combat plus Sucker Punch KO range, so I'd rather just knock their side out. So let's see. Obviously, they've got Raichu coming in right now. The Raichu's really low. Oh, it's Landorus. Okay. Nicely done. Yeah, they recognize the suboptimal matchup given the Zekrom with Yveltal. Well, I do have Reflect up, so that's helpful. I think here I am just going to Ice Beam into Landorus and then just Max Wormwind into the Raichu slot. The problem here is if you're my opponent, you can just like fake out Kyogre and Max Quake it, or even just Thunderbolt it with Raichu, for example. If I clicked Water Spout on turn 1, we would have just one-shot Assault Vest Raichu instead of Origin Pulse. So that's one thing I could have improved on in this game, but I just wanted to like go for Origin Pulse because it was guaranteed damage against both. I mean, Water Spout's guaranteed damage against both as well, but like I didn't want to take like Close Combat or Thunderbolt. Although like I feel like it's so unlikely they go for that on turn 1. Honestly, I'm shocked they didn't fake out the Kyogre slot on turn 1. Like, they could have punished them super hard. Yeah, so they're going to fake out into Kyogre. If you Quake into Zekrom here, I actually have a pretty good shot, because I'll Wormwind to KO Raichu. Yeah, I think we survive. What? No way. Okay, we survive with 1 HP. Kyogre, please don't get parried here. Now I also wish with Zekrom I just targeted the Landorus slot instead. Okay. And their Life Orb, too. So I was expecting to survive, but I survived it with a little bit less HP than I anticipated. But I do get the knockout on Raichu. I just need to avoid a couple paras on Kyogre now. Oh my gosh. Come on, Kyogre. Come through for us, please. Oh, wait. This turn we're going to get flinched, yeah. Ooh, this next turn is interesting. I mean, I still have Reflect up for a couple of turns, so then the question is, like, can Kyogre take 2 Max Quakes, right? I'm just going to Ice Beam into the Landorus here. And I could Protect Zekrom, but in this position, I'd rather just click Draco Meteor. We did drop their attack, and I have Reflect up with Kyogre, but I'm not going to one-shot Landorus, because Max Quake's going to boost their special defense. I do think I should have, yeah, I do think it's correct to target Raichu there. So, let's see. Here's Max Quake. Yep, they target Zekrom. Like, Protect doesn't accomplish anything there, right? Because you're just going to KO me anyway. So, that was always a safe play for them to make. Now it comes down to whether or not I can avoid 2 full paras in a row with Kyogre. Okay. Okay, avoid the first full para. Ice Beam almost just gets the knockout. No freeze, but I should survive another Max Quake, so it all comes down to this. I mean, Reflect is still up for 4 turns, and they're at -1 attack. Oh, this is so intense. I don't think I survived Max Quake into Earthquake, though, so I need to avoid a full para this turn. Actually, I mean, that wasn't a lot of damage, honestly, but I don't think I'm surviving single target EQ. And Kyogre does not get full para. What a game. I mean, this is a great example of why, like, you need to just not get tilted even if a lot of things aren't going your way, because this matchup significantly favored me, in my opinion. But I didn't expect the Zekrom to survive with exactly 1 HP. Wow, that was absolutely bonkers. Yeah, you know, my opponent made the choice to not bring Yveltal. I think if they were Self-S Yveltal, I actually would have lost this because, like, we were Special Zekrom, but obviously in Team Preview, you're not really going to be able to anticipate that, so it makes sense for them to play towards Dynamax Landorus instead. And so shout out to Grimmsnarl, you know, actually getting that Reflect off, and then Zekrom being bulky enough to even take a Life Orb Max Quake from Dynamax Landorus-T. So couldn't have asked for a better debut game with this team. And yeah, the main thing here is that, like, I feel like we have a really good matchup because, one, they have no water resistances or immunities, so Kyogre is just an absolute monster. And 2, like, the Zekrom is also just a beast. What was really helpful for us in this game was that they didn't have Play Rough on the Zacian. If they had Play Rough, I feel like we would probably just lose this game because it would do more damage than a Behemoth Blade, especially considering that they were a +3 attack. So the Zacian not doing very much damage to me, and then them actually just giving up both the Mienshao and the Zacian put me in, you know, a position to actually come back in this game. But that was absolutely wild, so let's keep things going. Second match of the day here, and that's a Gallade. Gallade is actually one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. I used Choice Band Gallade back in VGC 2012. It was like a Trick Room Hail team with Gallade. Or sorry, it wasn't Choice Band Gallade. It was like Bulky Gallade with Trick Room, I think. Either way, though, I have not seen that Pokemon ever in Sword and Shield. At least it feels like that. What do we want to go with here? I mean, Zekrom's solid. The main thing to worry about is Bulldoze Spectrier into Weakness Policy on the Solgaleo. So you know what I'm intrigued by? Physical Zekrom plus Kyogre here to max Airstream Water Spout. Is that really worth it? It's not bad. And then in the back, Zekrom. I've got Scary Face with this as well, which is intriguing. I think I like Zekrom, Kyogre, Zekrom. Probably Comfey. To be honest, I think Solgaleo here is going to be a pretty tricky matchup. Is there anything else I can do instead of going for Airstream Water Spout? So Airstream's Water Spout turn 1 is really interesting because if Solgaleo targets Kyogre rather than Zekrom, it puts us in a fantastic position going into turn 2. Because then I'll just have a Dynamax Zekrom, right? Which can, like, Bread and Max Lightning. So they do go with Spectre and Solgaleo, which was kind of what I was anticipating here. And we're going to go with the Zekrom plus Kyogre. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the play I want to go for here is to just max, go for the Airstream, and launch a Water Spout immediately. Because the way I see it is I either come out of it with a healthy Kyogre. Like, we're going to knock out Spectrier ideally before it can get a Bulldoze off, right? I guess the only fear is if you are a Choice Scarf Spectrier, which could be the case. But if you're not, normally Focus Sash is the item I expect, but Scarf also is a really solid item, specifically for scenarios like this. Scarf is interesting, though, because I guess Solgaleo might not be max speed, so even if you are... The thing is, I just don't want Policy to go off on their end, right? Even if Policy doesn't go off, though, like, a max Quake can just one-shot Alecki, I think. Just because Alecki is so frail. Okay. They protect Solgaleo. I mean, even if, like, they're protecting Spectrier... Wow. That is not what I expected at all, but I'll gladly take it. Beautiful. Okay, so I give a speed boost onto Kyogre now. And, yeah, physical Alecki. This is the beauty of it. Okay. Nice. Yeah, we just outspeed Spectrier. That is as good of a start as I could have asked for, because the thing is, I now get another turn of Dynamax with Alecki, and that's such a big deal, like pressuring with Max Lightning. Giving the Kyogre a speed boost here is also just very, very appreciated. So, Spectrier is going to faint. What do you even bring in now? Kingdra? Even if you bring in Kingdra, though, doesn't Alecki just outspeed? Because I'm at +1 speed now. Alecki is just so fast. It is such a ridiculous Pokemon. Like, the fact that it is so good as a regular, like, support-oriented mon with Volt Switch and, like, Electro Web, and the fact it's such a good Dynamax option, and the fact, like, you can run special or physical, all of that's just madness. I think if my opponent didn't bring Kingdra here, they're going to be in for a really tough time, but yeah, they do have it. Okay. It's okay. Solgaleo maxing here makes sense. I've got Zekrom and Comfey in the back. I guess it's interesting, though, because if you max the Solgaleo, I can just one-shot your Kingdra. Kyogre should probably be their final Pokemon. My only problem here is like Kingdra maxing and then just targeting Kyogre, but I guess I could see them targeting Alecki. So I've got that Zekrom in the back. Okay, I'm doubling up on Solgaleo here just because I know it protected last turn, and I'm faster right now with both Pokemon against it. So I'm curious what they max here. I think a Solgaleo max is better for us. Well, actually, maybe not necessarily, because if you don't max Solgaleo... Okay, yeah, they do max Sog. So the other play I was thinking was just Lightning one-shot Kingdra, but I didn't know who was maxing in this position, and I didn't want to target into Kingdra as it protects, for example. So let's see. Okay, they don't protect either Pokemon, so I will get a Life Orb Lightning off here. It's okay damage on a Solgaleo. What does Kingdra up for here is my question. Because they don't know that I'm Choice Specs yet. Okay. It's just going to be Dragon Pulse, but that's a good option. That's probably the best play they could have gone for in this spot. Doesn't really do that much to Kyogre and their Life Orb Kingdra. Okay. So we'll get a Water Spout off before Solgaleo moves. That's so much damage on a Solg. Wow. You know what's really... they will get a Special Defense boost. I was going to say what's really nice is I can bring in the Comfey and then heal up the Kyogre, but the Solgaleo actually doesn't even one-shot the Alecki, which puts me in a really, really good spot now. Wow. Nice. Okay. I'm just going to go for Lightning onto Kingdra here, I think. And Water Spout. Yep, and they don't protect it. Beautiful. Physical Alecki plus Kingdra was such an amazing duo for us in this one. The game's not over yet, but I feel pretty good about my spot, especially with Zekrom on the back, because the Zekrom can deal with their Kyogre pretty easily, with the Electric Terrain being up. Specs Kyogre is so nice. I mean, that was a single target Water Spout. They had a Special Defense boost, but we just get the knockout. And now Alecki just handles the Kyogre with no problem at all. Awesome. Yeah, this was one in which I felt like the Alecki plus Kyogre combo was just strong enough, and the interesting thing about running like Weakness Policy Solgaleo is, you know, you often want a lot of speed investment, but then you also want bulk, so you get rid of like attack EVs, and in this case that allows my Alecki to actually survive, which is awesome. So now we can just Wild Charge. And I don't mind switching here. I mean, there's no way we lose this game, I guess. But the logic of switching is it's not like Water Spout really does anything anyway, and a Specs Thunder with Electric Terrain should just one-shot their Kyogre if they're not Assault Vested. But I think Wild Charge alone should get the KO here. Yeah, this was just physical Lecky making all the difference. And the main thing is with physical Lecky, I can get that speed boost on turn 1 via max airstream. So if I had to guess, my opponent turn 1 was just protecting and then going for a bulldoze, not expecting to, you know, get outsped and not even get an attack off here. And the fact that Dragon Pulse, like, that's the downside of Kingdra. Kingdra's damage output is unfortunately just so underwhelming. Like, it is just not a very offensive Pokemon, and, like, you often feel like you have to Dynamax the TF and have a chance. And so it's Bulldoze, Will-O-Wisp, Snarl, Shadow Ball with Safety Goggles, Life Orb Kingdra as we saw, Dragon Pulse, Hydro Pump, Hurricane. That makes sense. Policy on Solgaleo. Interesting to see the spread here. It was actually max attack. Wow. I guess I gotta give Lecky a little bit credit here. A little bit more credit. Sunsteel Strike, Psychic Fangs, EQ, Protect. That makes sense. The slow speed is interesting, because normally with Spectrier and Solgaleo, the goal is to like bulldoze your opponent and drop their speed so that Solgaleo can just outspeed them immediately. But given that this is, yeah, like minus speed, you actually don't outspeed even after a bulldoze, which is intriguing. Scarf Kyogre, makes sense. Focus Sash Gallade. This is cool. Brick Break, Wide Guard, and Prison Trick Room. I was curious what the Gallade set was here. I don't really think there was any room for it to come out because we just have such a good like typing matchup against it, and like it's not like Trick Room even helps them that much here. And Iron Ball Rotom with Thunder, Nasty Plot, Leaf Storm. Very interesting. Maybe Trick Room could have actually benefited them here, but I feel like with the Lecky plus Kyogre, well, actually, I guess the way you can set up Trick Room is I don't double up onto Gallade on turn 1, and then I go for like Airstream Water Spout, you survive with Sash and get Trick Room up, and then Rotom Mow under Trick Room could be a problem. So that's another approach. Really interesting team there. So let's look for another one. And we've got another Yveltal, although we didn't actually face up against it in that first game. Zacian, Rilalboom, Lecky, Grimm, and Gastrodon. Okay, they don't have Intimidate, so I am very interested in the idea of a Lecky in this game. I mean, Zekrom at +2 really crushes things here as well. I think what's really fun about this team, by the way, is that, like, with Grimmsnarl, they're always going to set up, like, one of the screens, but it's, like, the Zekrom and Lecky are both, like, built in a different way than you would expect them to. So it's, like, against Zekrom, you'd set up Reflect, right? But then a +2 Max Lightning maybe can KO you. And then with the Lecky, you set up Light Screen, but then it's actually physical. I mean, I really don't think Dynamax Lucky's bad here, but I still really like Zekrom. Because, like, I can just go Comfey and Zekrom in this game, honestly. Gastro is going to be a problem. One Kyogre. Who do I bring as the last one? I'm leaning towards Grimm for Spirit Break, Scary Face, and Screens. Oh, actually, I'm a little bit in Rillaboom weak with this. Okay, I'm actually going to bring the Incineroar. This matchup is a little bit scary, though, because I think, given the way I'm leading, like, well, first of all, the Kyogre itself is just pretty weak because they have Gastro and Rillaboom. But I guess what's interesting is you can't bring Gastro, Rillaboom, Grimmsnarl, and both of you are restricted, so you have to drop one of those, and we can use that to our advantage. It's going to be Zacian and Rillaboom. Okay. I'm generally okay with this. Honestly, turn 1, I don't mind just double protecting. My only fear is like a sub from Zacian. But this lead makes sense because it's very good into like Grimmsnarl. It's very good into Kyogre. I don't really have a super safe answer into this, honestly. So this was just my opponent doing a great job identifying what is probably their best lead combo. How fast is Comfey here? Can I outspeed them? 124, yeah, I should. Yeah, honestly, that means I can just go for Draining Kiss onto Zekrom, max it, and then just Quake. I'm down for that. Maybe max Lightning onto... Well, Lightning onto Zacian, you could switch into Gastro. And even if you switch in the Yveltal here, which they don't, okay, that's really good. Let's see. The nice thing about Comfey is Triage, you know, makes its healing moves and Draining Kiss, for example, +3 priority. So it's the same priority bracket as Fake Out. We should outspeed Rillaboom here. Nice. And so it's like, even if you click Fake Out here, I don't care. And the nice thing is if you target the Zekrom, I can just heal it all back up with Floral Healing next turn. Okay. Beautiful. This is exactly what you want to do with this duo. And they're going to Blade into Comfey, which is such a good trade-off, right? Like, I one-shot your Zacian, and I also just get a free switch in into Incineroar right now. So getting rid of one of their restricteds already is good. Even with the Berry, we still get KO'd, but that's fine. I'd honestly rather have Comfey faint here, because it doesn't offer me very much after this first turn, given that I didn't take any damage with Zekrom anyway. There's Max Quake. One-hit KO. Beautiful. Okay, that's a very good start. Now, I still have to be very careful about Rilalboom. Like I mentioned, Kyogre is just not a very good Pokemon in this matchup. It's not very good into Rilalboom or Gastrodon. But the good thing is right now I've got this +2 Zekrom out right now. And I get a free switch into my Incineroar, which is pretty sweet. So let's see what they bring out. It's going to be Yveltal. Makes sense. Now this turn is interesting because if you're my opponent, you could bait me into Max Lightning into Yveltal and actually just switch it on to Gastrodon. Rillaboom's in a very bad spot right now, so I would think it maybe wants to consider switching out. I don't really even need to click Fake Out onto that spot. It doesn't offer me anything. Like, I'm actually down to just Parting Shot here into Yveltal and Wyrmwind into Rillaboom. Yeah. Well, they just end up forfeiting. I don't think the game was over yet, especially because I didn't have knowledge of what their final Pokemon was. And so, like, even if they didn't have Gastrodon, like, I was playing in a way assuming that they had Gastrodon. In their eyes, maybe they were like, well, I know Max Lightning onto the Yveltal would just completely crush me at this point. So, I wouldn't say, like, we were in a very, very favorable position, right? At that point, like, I was just looking for even just neutral plays, right? Like, Parting Shot plus Wyrmwind is pretty safe because there's no way my opponent can, like, 100%, like, have a way up around it. But at the same time, right, like, it gives my opponent comeback potential where it's like, instead of going for Lightning to one-shot something. And the other thing is I didn't know the Rillaboom either, and they didn't know that I was special rather than physical. And so for those reasons, like, if you have an Assault Vest on either the Rillaboom or the Yveltal, there is some comeback potential as well. But we literally just won that game on one turn. And, like, yeah, I think there was still maybe a slight possibility for my opponent to win, given that I didn't know their full sets. But I can understand why they forfeited, where, like, it just felt like we had such a insurmountable lead after turn one. So yeah, that's what this duo can do, and it's been a fast couple of games, so we'll look for one final one. Fourth match here, and we've got Kyogre, Calyrex, Ice Rider with the Lecky, Indeedee, Dusclops, and Urshifu. Okay. So Comfey can reverse Trick Room. The main thing to watch out for here is Helping Hand from either Indeedee or Dusclops paired with a Lecky, and then also, like, Policy on Calyrex Ice Rider. I'm mainly curious on what the item on Kyogre is. I mean, Zekrom in general is really good, but it's obviously very weak into Calyrex Ice Rider. I mean, Calyrex Ice Rider in general is just a problem here, I think. In my eyes, it's like, if we can one-shot a Lecky, then it paves the way for Kyogre. I'm okay with the Comfey Dusclops lead with Kyogre and Incin in the back, I think. Getting up screens with Grim would be really nice. I could bring it over Incineroar, I suppose, but I think Incin for Intimidate here and us having Focus Sash allowing us to survive like a Max Quake from Calyrex and then Parting Shot back out is also nice. But I don't love this matchup, I think, because they have Trick Room. Now, the interesting thing is that Comfey can reverse it, so that's one thing we can angle for. But the main thing is that Calyrex Ice Rider +2, like when you have Policy activated under Trick Room, is a nightmare, I think. But they are going to go with Lecky and Calyrex. Okay, that's a really interesting duo. I almost wonder if this is fast Calyrex and you have Max Strike or Max Airstream on a Lecky, so you go for like Speed Boost and then just go for Glacial Lance. I think that would be really interesting here. The other part of the problem is you could just Dynamax your Calyrex right now, right? I think I want to just go for Max Wyrmwind into the Calyrex and just go for Draining Kiss here. But I'm nervous there's something I'm not seeing here, and it is like fast Calyrex or even something crazy like Choice Scarf Calyrex. Okay, they're going to Dynamax. That's got to be a Lecky maxing, right? Unless Calyrex is like max speed? Yeah. I think they're probably going for Airstream then, right? But even if you're Airstream Glacial Lancing, it's not even that bad for me, in my opinion. The thing is, Max Zelecki doesn't have that favorable of a matchup into the Zekrom specifically. So we'll see. You could be like Choice Band or Life Orb, but even if you're like that, I think we should survive on Zekrom. I guess the problem is we just, if we like take too much damage, where then they can just bring in, you know, another Pokemon to finish my Zekrom off. So I'm expecting a way to boost their speed or drop my speed. Like, it's probably Physical Lecky on that end as well. Or it could be Hyper Beam Max Strike. Yeah. Okay, they target Comfey. I'll take that. Not very much damage either. So, are you not Life Orb then? Okay. It is Life Orb. Wow. I just didn't do very much. I guess, like, the thing is, since they activated Policy via Glacial Lance anyway, if I actually protected Comfey there, it would be in an amazing position, because then I can just heal Zekrom back the next turn. That's actually not a bad play. That's Focus Sash Calyrex. Oh, I knew something funky was going to happen here, but I didn't consider that option. Like, I was worried about them doubling up into a Zekrom slot. Oh, I guess I have Instant as a switch in here, so I can just fake out. Yeah, it's not that bad. Now, the key thing to note is that I have this Specs Kyogre in the back. This next turn is interesting because you could double protect. I'm going to fake out and max weight Calyrex, right? Because it's like, if you protect, I still get the KO through protect. If you don't protect, then fake out will knock you out, and then max weight gets redirected into a Lecky anyway. Oh, it's Helping Hand as well. I don't think you KO Zekrom, truthfully, but let's see. If it's max strike, it's got to be Hyper Beam, right? Because if I pick up a double KO here, we're in great shape, but that's a very interesting Calyrex. Nice, this Zekrom is so clutch. He also goes to show the slightly underwhelming damage output from Regieleki. Not able to even KO even with Life Orb and Helping Hand, but the Zekrom EV spread on this team is just phenomenal. Okay. So that gives me a special defense boost. This is fast Kyogre as well, but I'm still worried about like fast Instant. I'm worried about them having fast Kyogre. Because, like, Kyogre just crushes my Incineroar here. So even though we're up in terms of Pokemon, it's not even, like, I wouldn't say it's absolutely amazing. And then the big question is, what's their final one outside of Kyogre? Okay, so Kyogre comes in. Ah, it's Urshifu. That's not good. Yeah, I think they still win the game. Even though that was, obviously, a solid turn for us. Any way I can come back in this? Yeah, -2 speed. Here you can literally just Water Spout plus Close Combat or Wicked Blow into the Instant. Which means I have no way around this. Well, I know you're not sashed on this. Oh, maybe I can leverage that to my advantage. I don't really see a way out of this, though. I think my only shot is, for some reason, they target the Zekrom slot with the Urshifu. I know you're not Focus Sash because Calyrex had it, so my mistake in this game was not protecting on Comfey on turn 1, but I don't love that because, like, Sash Calyrex is just such a surprising item, right? They outspeed Urshifu, so it's either, like, Adamant Urshifu and Kyogre's max speed, or, more likely, I think they're Scarf Kyogre. And Band Urshifu, if I had to guess. Yep, go for Wicked Blow. I don't think we survive this. Yeah, nicely played. Man. This was just a really cool team, right? Like, my opponent's team highlights the element of surprise, because whoever expects Focus Sash, Calyrex Ice Rider with Helping Hand, right? That's just not something you would anticipate in a best of 1. And if you look at my opponent's team, they have a pretty clue Trick Room mode as well, given the Indeedee and the Dusclops. So it's a really nice way in team building to, you know, get your opponent to believe that a Pokemon is built in a certain way just for you to have a very surprising build, right? The thing is, I missed out on the opportunity to protect. I think, like, protect Comfey. What I was worried about, I guess, was like, I don't know, something like Electro Web Max Hailstorm onto Zekrom. But the thing is, Zekrom on this team is pretty bulky. Also, I don't want to waste any more of their time, so let me just forfeit real quick. Zekrom on the team here is really bulky, so I can probably take a Hailstorm, and then that would just activate my Policy. Because the key thing is, if you damage onto Zekrom and I just survive the turn, if you activate Policy, like imagine on turn 1 if I had protected Comfey, I would have brought the Calyrex down to Sash. They would have barely done any damage to, or they would have done no damage to the Comfey outside of the Max Strike. And then, you know, the Zekrom is still pretty low. But then the next turn, well, maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. I was going to say, the next turn I could heal Zekrom up, or I can go for the Draining Kiss. Like, I'd probably prefer to Draining Kiss onto Calyrex and then Max Quake. They can go for Helping Hand, but then Helping Hand didn't even KO me. So then if you KO Comfey, I Quake into your... If I Quake into a Lucky, though, and then I get a free switch in an instant, allowing me to fake out Urshifu or Kyogre, that's the difference maker, right? Because I think both of those may have been choiced. And so if I just fake out the Urshifu and then Max Lightning or Wormwinded as well and KO that, then we should win the game. But, yeah. I didn't love the idea of protecting because I didn't know my opponent's sets. But since Zekrom's pretty bulky here, that actually may have been a decent play. The other thing, as always, to ask about is like whether or not my Pokemon selection was good. So instead of bringing in Incineroar, I don't think Grimm offers anything in this matchup other than, like, one thing we could do with Grimm is lead it and then just go for Scary Face immediately. Grimm could work if I'm leading it, otherwise it's not very strong. I didn't love the idea of that, though, because, you know, I was afraid of, like, the Trick Room mode for my opponent's team. But in a best of 3, if I were to play them, then I absolutely would lead Grimm, I think, because it's pretty clear that they're sashed on the Calyrex, and that's not their primary Dynamax option, so you don't have to worry about, like, a Policy set, for example. And then the Kyogre and Urshifu, I think, it wouldn't be surprised if both were choiced, or Kyogre's AV, for example, especially given that I outsped Urshifu. Like, Scarf Kyogre plus Band Urshifu makes a lot of sense. And so then, like, Grimmsnarl goes such a long way because you can set up screens and basically prevent them from KOing you immediately and take advantage of that. So, yeah, really cool team, though, and I love it when you go up against a team that gets rewarded for smart team building, right? Because something like that is just very hard, if not impossible, to predict in a best of 1. And so it's basically thinking about, yeah, like, what I could have done better now knowing their sets, because obviously, like, in real life tournaments are primarily best of 3, and so leveraging that and figuring out how you can now beat that strategy, because in going for that kind of unique set, you do give up, like, the stronger, quote unquote, like, standard Calyrex set. And so, like, to me, I don't see it as much of a Dynamax option if I were to play against it again, and it doesn't scare me as much because there's no weakness policy to worry about. So yeah, anyway, these games were really fun, and I absolutely adore this team, so I hope you try it out yourselves. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Thank you to tsltang once again for the team. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.